Hello, my name is Kyle Anderson, and I'll be hosting this webinar in which we'll do a quick tour of CodeFluent Entities. So it's going to be a 20-minute webinar in which will be followed by a Q&A session of about 5 or 10 minutes. So write down your questions, hold them on the side, and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation. Okay, so what is CodeFluent Entities? Basically, what this means is that CodeFluent Entities is a product which, from a model containing your business logic, will generate 100% functional code. Generation is not a one-shot action. Instead, it will be continuous throughout developments, and that's a key point with this product. The idea is that CodeFluent Entities will generate all the recurrent and low-value code so that you'll be able to focus on what matters. We'll see how it works in a demo a little later, just a couple more slides explaining the global process of developing an application and what's CodeFluent Entities. And the first very important point is that CodeFluent Entities is not an RAM, and you'll see that in the demo right after. So, unlike when you're working with RAMs and when you're just doing a mapping between your objects and what's in database, CodeFluent Entities is really a model-first tool. So you're going to start by defining your business logic in this model. And at this stage, you're totally agnostic of any technology. We specifically focus on the key concepts of our application and their properties, their relations between one another, entities, rules, methods, and so on. And we'll see that in the demo after. The model isn't necessarily a single file. It can be chunked into what we call parts to increase readability and to allow team collaboration. I'll also show that briefly during the demo. I'd also like to emphasize the fact that the model isn't a UML or just data access model or just a mapping model. It really is a single pragmatic model which only contains a functional description of the application and which is readable by non-technical users, and that's also a key point with the product. So everything is centralized in this model. You don't have to repeat yourself with database schemas, class diagrams, or UML models. Everything is driven from there. Once your functional elements have been defined, you need to specify the platforms you want to target, say a SQL Server database or an Oracle one, a C# object model, or maybe VB.NET, an ASP.NET website, say a WCF Smart Client, or even a SharePoint website. All those platforms which I just mentioned are supported out of the box by the product. So to do so, you're going to define producers. Each producer targets one and only one platform and translate this platform-independent model into actual code. So for instance, if you add the SQL producer to your project, it will translate this model into one table per entity, properties will become columns, methods will become stored procedures, and instances actual lines of data. On the other hand, if you add the business object model producer, it will generate classes, properties, methods for each of your entities, and so on. Each producer translates platform-independent concepts into their equivalent for their target platform. Moreover, each generated layer knows how to interact with the other ones. For instance, the object model consumes the database, WCF services consume the model, and so on. At this stage, once you've done all that and you've generated the code, you'll have 100% functional code which you can compile and use right away. Nevertheless, we at CodeFluent don't think that generating entire enterprise class application from bottom to top is possible. There will always be some very specific screen or very complex business rule that will require some custom code. So we don't intend to replace developers, but instead help them get more productive by taking from their backs all of the tedious work so they can focus elsewhere. Therefore, the generated code is entirely extensible. All classes are partial classes, and moreover, those generated classes are plain old classes, only implementing interfaces and not deriving from any base technical class. I'd also like to emphasize that all handmade extensions, such as partial classes, won't get overwritten on the next generation. And this is also true in the database as well. CodeFluent Entities provides a diff engine which updates the database at each generation instead of dropping everything and recreating everything over. By updating, I mean that it will rename a column if you rename the property, or change a type if you change a property type, and it will do all the upcasting and really allow you to update your database schemas hassle-free. This way, you'll never lose data, and you'll always be able to continuously generate until your application is complete. Once you've generated and added the custom logic that you wanted to, all you have to do is compile. Since CodeFluent Entities generates completely standard code, there's absolutely nothing specific to this stage. And actually, from the extend stage up to the test stage, it is absolutely pure .NET development. So obviously, those few steps from extend to test are in fact a sub-cycle in the application development lifecycle, and it can be repeated as much as needed without generating other at each time. However, if ever a structural change is needed, like adding an entity, renaming one, removing columns, or whatever else, you'll need to go back to the model, update it, and generate over. And then you're off for a new cycle. Either modify custom code if needed and as desired, compile over, test over again, and so on. If ever you realize you need an extra entity, update the model and start a new cycle over again. Okay, that's basically it for the slides. Now that you're aware of how it globally works, let's see how it goes in action, and let's start with the demo. Leave PowerPoint and switch to Visual Studio. And prior to this demonstration, I already installed CodeFluent Entities on my laptop. So now, if I go File, New Project, I'm going to have a new project type, which is the CodeFluent Entities project type here. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a small application just to show you how defining your business logic, how modeling goes using CodeFluent Entities. I'm going to keep the default namespace to auto process. And now what we're going to do is we're going to open this surface, which is basically a canvas on which I'll be designing my entities and properties, relations, and all that. And this is where I'll be defining my business logic. So I'm going to start by adding entities. I'm going to add several entities in different namespaces on purpose, just to show you that CodeFluent Entities fully supports multiple namespaces. And I'm going to put the order entity in the sales namespace. Then I'm going to create another entity named product, which I'm going to place in another namespace, which will be order process catalog. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to add some value properties here. I'm going to add an identifier on my order, another identifier on my product. I'm going to add a name property to this one, which actually allows me to show you the native types that are handled by CodeFluent Entities. And you can find some regular types such as string, int, float, decimal, but also more advanced types. And actually, we're going to use a more business-oriented type in the order property. I'm going to create a type named price. And instead of using a decimal or float, we're going to use the currency one. And all this is completely platform independent. We're not designing a class diagram, nor we are designing tables here. We're really just creating entities and properties. This is platform independent, and it's producers, which are actual code generators, which will translate this into actual code. And so this currency property, for instance, will become a money type in the database, but a standard decimal in my .NET layers. So, okay, I got basic properties. Now we're going to define relationships between my entities, and I'm going to create an order has products, for instance. And instead of defining my type using the advanced type property, I'm going to keep it to string for just to show you a nice feature of the modeler, which if you hold the shift key and then click on it, you can get this arrow that appears, which allows you to define a relation. And I'm going to say that the product property points to the product entity and does not have any a target property. And an order can have several products, and products are can be referenced by several orders. So it's a many-to-many relationship. So I'm going to select that sentence. As it's a many-to-many relationship, I cannot create composition, but where I creating one-to-many relationships or stuff like that, I could have created aggregation or composition relations, like saying that I would like to delete all related customers, for instance, or when I delete a customer, I like to delete all its orders before it is deleted and stuff like that. Another point of interest with CodeFluent Entities is that it fully supports enumerations. And by fully support, what I mean is that you can either create brand new enumeration, which will generate a genuine, an actual .NET enumeration, and you can also reuse existing .NET types. So I'm just adding a value here to show you how it goes. But yeah, I could also, like, say I want to add a new status property. Instead of using the standard type, I can use the advanced type. And here I could have, by the way, I could have defined my relation property this way earlier. Anyway, I can select my order status enum, but I can also browse serial types and reuse an existing enum like system day of week or enums like that. So I'm not going to use this one. I'm going to use order status. Another point of interest is that now that I have all those, I can, here we're just designing, but we can also set up some more advanced features. Like in your model, you can define which property is your key or not. You can define rules on them. Like, for instance, we can add a rule just to show you how it goes. You can have validation rules, transaction security rules, lifecycle rules, which allow you to plug in before this property is accessed or before it is set or after it is set. You can also create your own rules if you want to. So here, for instance, we're going to say that this price property should be over 0. So the type name is a currency. We're comparing currency, and it should be over 0. And this is the kind of stuff that you can do, define your logic. And the thing is that CodeFluent Entities will then translate this into a meta model, and you can actually see what CodeFluent Entities understands by hitting the view inferred, which allows you to see the inferred meta model that is understood by CodeFluent Entities. And as you can see from this model that we define here, it actually builds an in-memory representation of your business object model with your namespaces and classes and enums, but it also creates a virtual database that your persistence producers will then translate into actual code. And here, for instance, you can find all our properties here, but you can also see that by default we have tracking features of time and user, and we also have a row version column that is created to handle concurrency. And the fact that CodeFluent Entities uses this meta model logic and is model based and not template based in its generation is of a tremendous value, since you can, for instance, disable by pushing buttons. You can apply application wide changes like disabling the concurrency mode or disabling the tracking modes of time and user, for instance. And now if we load over again if we explore our meta model over again, you'll see that now all tables do not have those tracking and concurrency features anymore. And you can also change the way tables are named and columns are named and the constraints and so on. It's the same with the UI. And this is actually what the producers actually translate afterwards. So if we take a look at the available producers, CodeFluent Entities provides more than 20 different producers. And adding a new producer is a way for you to support a new technology. So once you invested the time into creating this model, it allows you to create very flexible applications that are cross-technology and decouple your business from the technology. So here you can add SQL Server, SQL Azure, Oracle database. You can also add standard .NET, generate .NET classes from this model, and by clicking on a button, you can switch from one language to another one. Well, what do we have? Well, you can also generate ASP.NET websites, SharePoint web parts. We also have utility producers, which allow you to generate a IDEO.NET Entity Framework models so that you can generate a data access layer if you want to. You can also generate Silverlight object models. I don't know, I'm kind of running out of time on this demo, so I'm going to switch to another one and actually showing you with the exact same model, but with more producers, with producers actually configured, and the model is a little bigger with validation rules, for instance, and it also has instances. Instances represent lines of data. You can actually edit those instances using the instances grid here, so you can actually set up several batches of instances at the same time. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build this model. The project is up to date. That's what it said. So now let's see. So I got this SharePoint web part producer that was configured here. So if we go in the catalog namespace, for instance, and open the product page, you'll see all the products that were created. And so products were, if we go back to our model, we had instances of 3 products. So we should see 3 products, and those are standard SharePoint web parts. They can be connected to one another, and you can connect to your own custom web parts if you want to. And those are 100% generated pages generated by the SharePoint producer. And then you can create, read, update, delete those data in those web parts. Say, hello world. So if you remember, here in my model, I got this email validation rule on my customer entity. So if I go here and then I try to create a new customer with some invalid email there, I should get a validation error indicating that those values are not valid emails. And all that is done without a single line of code. All that is generated by CodeFluent Entities. And then this business logic is available in all my clients, as they're all based and all using the same business object layer. Another point of interest is here I've shown you a 100% generated UI generated by the SharePoint web part producer, but you can also create your own applications. The code generated by CodeFluent Entities is absolutely standard .NET code. There's nothing specific about it. And what's cool with it is that it's fully functional. Here, what I'm doing is I'm building the solution, and I created an order process. I created a ASP.NET website, which is the orderprocess.webapp here project. This is an ASP.NET MVC website, which I created myself, and I'm the one who added the customer's controller, and you can see that the code is very straightforward. It's only using classes that were generated by the business object model producer to load my customers, delete them, and manipulate them. And so it uses the same business object model as my SharePoint application here. So once the ASP.NET web server started and loaded my DLLs, we can see this ASP.NET MVC website starting. I can create new customers, and here again, since it's using the same business object model, I get all my business rules that are specified into it, and all I got to do is just data bind and consume the stuff, but I don't have to do all the plumbing. The tool handles it for me. Now, last part of this demo, so I'm kind of running out of time, is that here we created some brand new applications without any data, but you can also start from existing applications, and here I'm just showing you a cool feature which you can drag and drop from the Server Explorer and Visual Studio tables. And here I'm drag and dropping all tables of different schemas of my AdventureWorks database. And I'm just going to go next, next, next. And this will import the entire AdventureWorks database into a CodeFluent Entities model. And then from this model, I'll be able to add new producers to target new technologies. But I can also generate on the same existing database and update it, and keep on working keep on working on the existing schema. So it's importing. I just want to show you there you go. And I'm going to close all this so that we can actually see something there. And so here's my imported AdventureWorks database with all its relationships. And I'm actually going to jump on the occasion here, on the opportunity to show you the modal search, so you can actually navigate through the model pretty easily using the shape search. Here, for instance, I got a relation. If I click on Control and click, I can then see to which entity it is related and navigate through my model this way. So you can also chunk the model into several namespaces and several surfaces, several parts, so you can handle big models. Okay, so this is it for the demo. We're going to get back to the slides. There's still a few more slides that I want to show you. So before concluding, I'd like to show you some extra features of the product that I could not present in this demo, but are out of the box in the product. So there's way more features in the product, and the goal of this slide isn't to list them all, but instead to make a clear statement that CodeFluent Entities is not an REM, and it's not a modeling tool as well, but instead it really is a unique product taking care of all those recurrent needs that we have in modern applications, so that we can focus on the key parts of our application, on what matters, on doing a nice UI, on the business logic, and stuff like that. And another point of interest is, as you've seen, since you're putting all your business logic into this platform-dependent model, and that since it's producers that then translate this platform-dependent model into actual code, you can build very flexible application that go across technology and survives technology shifts. Supporting a new platform gets as easy as adding a new producer. Like, see, if you want to go from SQL Server to Oracle, you just switch the producers. If you want to go from VB.NET to C#, you just click on a button. So it allows you really to be cross-technology, and the code that is generated can be used in any .NET, Microsoft technology, may they be SharePoint, WPF, Silverlight, ASP.NET, MVC, or web forms. And that's another key point with the product. So to sum up what you've seen in this demo, the key points using these tools are that first, you're using a centralized model. You don't ever repeat yourself. You're going to have a UML model here with several diagrams, and another mapping model there. It's a single model inside Visual Studio that drives all your development, and this is possible thanks to the second key point, which is that you can generate continuously. Generation is not a one-shot action, but instead, and as we've seen a little in the demo, is that you can do this until your scope complete. And I really invite you, if you want to know more about all that, to watch our webinar and to get a hand on the product so that you can see it for yourself. And the combination of those 2 points are of a great value, as in the end, you'll have an actual snapshot of what the application handles and how it does it. So you can come back like years later, open this model again, and get a clear picture of what's in production. Another key point is flexibility. Using this tool, you're decoupling your business from the technology. That's what we talked about in the previous slide. Once you've invested this time into creating this model, then supporting a new technology comes down to adding a new producer. Using CodeFluent Entities, you can go from VB.NET to C# like pushing a button, and you can switch. You can just add support for SharePoint, for instance, by adding the SharePoint producer. So it allows you really to create incredibly flexible applications. And we did not talk about it, but you can also create your own rules, your own producers. You really can extend the product at your will, and you can also extend generated code very easily. And last but not least, and we've mentioned it in the last part of the demo when I imported AdventureWorks, you can migrate and interoperate with existing systems. So migrate them, but you can import them and then just add some new producers like import an Access database and then start a brand new .NET application, or you can keep on working on an existing one by importing a SQL Server database, for instance, like AdventureWorks, and then generating on it over and over again and build an entire new .NET application on this existing database. So, it's a generation product, so you need to trust it. And the best way to trust it is actually to see for yourself and just go ahead. There's a free personal edition of the product, which is unlimited time-wise and feature-wise, so you can get a full, a representative taste of how the product behaves or how it feels. So just go ahead. I really invite you to download it and have fun with it. Okay, so this is it for this demonstration. I'll be answering your questions if you have any now. So go ahead and shoot.